And now it's time for Talking Trade with Sandi Siegel and Ken Wasylik, sponsored by the Wisconsin Center for Manufacturing and Productivity, Michael Best Strategies, and Carroll University.
Welcome to another session of Talking Trade. I'm Ken Wasylik, Managing Director of EM Wasylik and Associates, an international business development company.
And I'm Sandi Siegel, President of ME Day. Our guest today is Sam Rikkers. Sam is the Chief Operating Officer of WEDC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So welcome, Sam. It's great to have you on Talking Trade.
Thanks, Sandi. Really happy to be here.
So I understand you just returned from a WEDC-led trade mission to Mexico. And I actually went on one of the governor's trade missions to Mexico many years ago.
Wow.
And it was my first trade mission. And I was amazed and impressed at the resources and the work and, the organization and meetings and so forth that are orchestrated in these trade missions on behalf of Wisconsin companies. So tell us a little bit about this recent trade mission and some of the companies that joined you and some of the, takeaways and things that came out of that meeting.
Would love to. Mexico, as Wisconsin's second largest trading partner, is a place that we go back to quite regularly. And that's because our Wisconsin companies, when they're looking to expand their markets, they're looking at our neighbor to the south as a place of just tremendous opportunity. Sometimes we organize trade missions kind of a sector specific, but this most recent trip was a multi-sector trip. We took about 5 to 6 different companies that really range throughout the manufacturing, ag, and chemical space from all over the state. Companies from Osseo, Wisconsin, Hartford, Wisconsin, Fountain City, Wisconsin, Neenah, Wisconsin, Baraboo, Wisconsin are the ones that really come to mind, and really just tremendously successful. Only, I think, one of the companies had been on a trade mission before, but all reported a really valuable week. What's neat on this trade mission, and you may have experienced it, we usually get together at the start of the week. And this week, we started in our sister state of Jalisco, in Guadalajara as the capital.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting in that initial kickoff meeting. They've been working with our trade reps for several months before they go to really help, so that our trade reps understand their business, can organize meetings with potential buyers or distributors. But when they get in country and it's their first night before that work really kicks off, there's often talk of kind of hopes for the week-long trade mission, expectations, goals. And then what's really great, we ended the trade mission, we were in Mexico City, city of 26 million people, the economic heart of the country. And you get to hear the report. Well, how'd the week go? And just to sit around sharing a dinner together, tremendous food, really listening to distributors met, customers met, maybe not a customer yet, maybe not a signed contract, but samples being shipped, and just great optimism. It was just a really great week.
Yeah, it was one of the highlights of my career, and just seeing how you helped break through red tape where in making some of these meetings or steering people in the right direction and making connections. So yeah, it was really an incredible experience. Very exciting.
So Sam, Mexico is our second largest trading partner, and I think Canada is our number one. I know the 2024 trade data report just came out. I mean, how is Wisconsin doing on the export side, on the trading side? And besides Mexico and Canada, are there other trading partners, real strong trading partners?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let me first talk about that data that was just released. We wrapped 24 with 4 of our strongest trading years, really coming off the pandemic that we've had. So 23 was our strongest ever on record. 24 was another super strong year. So just 4 tremendous years. And Wisconsin, we'd certainly go to our strengths. The biggest part of our exports are industrial machinery, kind of electrical machinery, certainly our ag products, plastics are our big places that we have strong exports to. But it was another just really tremendous year. You mentioned that, Mexico sits as number 2 and Canada is certainly our number 1. So we really look as this North American market is such a massive economy that so much of our supply chains across different sectors are so interwoven together. And we really saw this on the most recent trade mission to Mexico. Our other real strong trading partners, China comes in at number 3 and Germany is number 4. And what's interesting is I'm about to board a plane with our secretary, my friend and colleague, Missy Hughes. Wednesday morning, we'll fly off to China, joined by a couple companies as well as the Wisconsin dairy farmers. They'll be advocating for our cheese producers and our dairy farms, a couple of really great companies. And I'll come back after a week and Missy will fly on to our 4th largest trading partner, to Germany. And so this spring, between Mexico, China, Germany, and in April again, we'll have another trade mission to Canada, our 4th largest trading partner. So it's quite busy at WEDC, but really engaging with our critical partners that are a tremendous source of prosperity for our exporters and for our economy.
Well, this is really good to to hear, because the word of the day, or I should say the week or the month, is tariffs, right? Tariffs that U.S. is gonna impose on our trading partners, our close trading partners like Canada, Mexico, Germany, EU, China as well, and then the countervailing, how do you say, the slaps back?
Retaliatory, yes.
The retaliatory tariffs coming the other way, which is going to affect our exporters here in Wisconsin. How do you see, or when you talk to these companies, how are they looking at these tariffs, and what do you see as the ramifications going forward?
As you might imagine, Ken, that is a topic of conversation on these trips. And I've been at WEDC now for 5.5 years, and it's just a very different conversation now. Let me first start by these are Wisconsin businesses, and so they are optimistic about their opportunities, and so they're leading with that optimism. But when you really talk to them more deeply, and also talk to Mexican companies that are looking to invest in the U.S., while certainly it's still in the early phases, the biggest challenge that folks are encountering across the board is just the uncertainty of the tariffs, right?
Right.
Not knowing one day if they're on, they're paused the next, if they're back the next day. I mean, that's what we certainly know in business across Wisconsin, that the single greatest premium is certainty. After that, there's a lot other considerations, but the first thing is certainty of what the rules of the road are, what the rules of the road are. And so that's probably the biggest. And that's simply because businesses don't plan out just this quarter. As they're thinking about establishing relationships with customers in another market, distribution partners in another market, that takes time to build, and business plans take time to execute. And so you're planning today for execution tomorrow, the next month, and the years to come, and concerned that the rules of the road may change, or even what you plan on today won't really fit the rules of the road for tomorrow. That's really tough for businesses, both looking to invest in Wisconsin and for our companies looking to export beyond that. One other piece I'd add is I was in Mexico. They are such a strong partner, as I mentioned, interwoven with our economy. Secretary Hughes will head off to Germany, and then we'll be in Canada later in April. And the other piece that comes up in a lot of those conversations is that the relationships that really serve as the foundation of those trade and economic relationships are built on shared values and a shared history. Secretary Hughes will be going to Germany to celebrate the 50th year of our sister state relationship with the state of Hessen. I mean, that's 50 years of not only shared trade, She'll be visiting Millipore Sigma that has tremendous investment in Wisconsin, but she'll also be celebrating some shared values that really came out of post-war Europe, of democracy and free markets and some of that rule of law stability. And so that's certainly an underlying piece that I think businesses also understand and really yearn for.
Yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly, Sam. All our clients have trading partners, and it seems like the politics is one thing, but at the end of the day, it's doing business is built on relationships, and relationships will change over time, and the rules will change over time. But you're right, everybody's looking at expecting uncertainty, and Sandy, that these are not certain times.
Right.
Certain.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you touched on a little bit, Sam, it's challenging to plan with the uncertainty in the short term. And everybody is trying to figure out how to best navigate that, but still looking forward because you need to, right? And trying to develop some of this business and so forth. And a lot of people would suggest that some of these punitive trade arrangements are short term, and at least are hoping they're short term. And again, just trying to look forward. But I think, it's trying to establish strategies that are flexible, that can react to some of these changes. So that said,
Sandy, can I just jump in right there just with a comment?
please.
It's so interesting. I mean, absolutely, companies are looking to plan. One of the neat things you'll see, there's this company, it's worth mentioning. They're based in Osseo. It's called the Electric Cleaner Company. It's a global leader in the professional dog and cattle grooming industries. Now, they've been around for a while. We're in our dairy state, but guess what? Everybody did all over the world, not just in Wisconsin during the pandemic, got their pandemic dog, right? Got their pet. And so a company joined us in Mexico, and they'll be joining us next week in China. So despite that need to plan and that need for certainty, what is just striking is the companies that are still bullish about the products that they're making here in Wisconsin and the opportunity that those products will find a market abroad. It's so cool.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's refreshing. It's encouraging.
Yeah.
And again, it's the resiliency and trying to be flexible, as we navigate these changes. So, we talked a little bit, you touched on some of the resource the WEDC is and can be. You have numerous trade missions, I know. So I have two questions. A little bit, I want to certainly share with the audience some of the trade missions that lie ahead and how they get connected and find out about them. And are you changing where you're going, what you're doing, how you're approaching these trade missions in this uncertain climate?
Yeah, no, to the contrary, as the climate feels uncertain, it's been a real mission of ours is to communicate, certainly bring in the companies, but also to communicate like continued engagement.
Great.
We think that uncertainty, we've seen it before. So to the extent that Wisconsin and WDC can communicate stability and can communicate, we are staying true to how we support our businesses, our exporters. We'll be doing that. We'll always, until further notice anyway, and that's not coming anytime soon. We know from both the data that we know and who we're trading with most and who's investing most with us. Our partners will remain Canada, Mexico, Germany. The Chinese market is just too big to ignore. And that's what we hear from our businesses. I'm sure of course, about our Export Tech program, which helps take Wisconsin would-be or nascent exporters and really help provide skills. After we go through that Export Tech program, we ask companies, what are the markets you're looking at most? And we really design the trade missions that we invest in and support our companies in, chiefly around where our companies see opportunity. And so, as I mentioned, we just got back from Mexico. We'll be heading off to China this week. The following week is Germany, and Canada is in April.
That's awesome.
Right.
We promote it all the time and remind customers of, again, the great resources there are here in Wisconsin, as you mentioned, yourselves and Export Tech and so forth. And yeah,
I'll also add,
there's
Sandy, is
lots
that
of opportunity.
companies may not know this, but I saw this again in Mexico, is that I have enough Spanish to find my way to a bathroom or order a beer in Mexico, but not much more than that. And so what we provide for folks, whether you're landing in Mexico or you're landing in Shanghai, is that not only are there trade reps that are helping create those relationships with customers, buyers, or distributors, we also really support with interpreters and transportation logistical support. The last thing we need to do is to have someone misread their Google Maps when they're in China and they miss a really critical meeting. And I'm sure it still happens from time to time.
Of course.
We really invest resources to make sure that the time that the businesses invest with us in country, they get as much out of their time there as they can.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. China was one of the other trade missions I did, and
oh wow, okay,
escorted around, and so it was really incredible to see.
Great.
And yes, and the travel arrangements are beautifully orchestrated, and yeah, definitely paved the way for meetings and, as you said, translators and so forth. So really a tremendous opportunity for people. Terrific. Well, Sam, it's been incredible having you, and thank you it's refreshing to have some, positive, again, look forward, and isn't that our Wisconsin motto? And,
absolutely.
Seeing some positive things as we're all trying to find our way through the noise. So thanks
to
again.
both of you. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sam.
You've been listening to Talking Trade with Sandi Siegel and Ken Wasylik, sponsored by the Wisconsin Center for Manufacturing and Productivity, Michael Best Strategies, and Carroll University.